Thank you so much for joining me for what has very quickly become my favourite video to record, which is me picking my TBR for the following month, and today I'm picking my TBR for the month of April. So the reason I love this video so much is because I get really excited about what books I'm going to read. I get to read some that have been on my TBR for a while, as well as to read some recommendations from yourselves. So as always, I'm going to start with my big TBR jar, and this is one that I fill with stars where I write on your recommendations. So if you've recommended a book to me, either in the comments, in a video that I've posted on Instagram, or via my book recommendation form, the link to which is in the description box down below, then I check it out. If I haven't read it before and it looks interesting to me, I write it on a bit of paper and I put it into this jar. This month I've had 6 new stars, so 6 new recommendations. They're all submitted anonymously, so they may be from the same person, but 6 completely different books that I have basically put on 2 little strips of paper and popped into this jar. So I'm going to, as always, take off the lid and give it a really good shake, and then tip a few stars out, and I am going to pick this orange star here, and then I am going to see what it has in store for me. This is the bit where we have to patiently wait because I cannot ever work out how to actually unwrap the star. So this first book that I picked out of the jar is Taking Turns by J A Huss. This was recommended by At Studios Photo, and apparently it's a saga romantic suspense. So I've only actually read one book by J A Huss before, which was Sick Heart, which I did really enjoy, but it was a pretty brutal read. And I've tried to read a couple of hers before and kind of downloaded them, maybe started them, and then kind of like didn't continue with them. So it'll be very interesting to see what I make of this one, and I believe, looking at it, it's actually part of a trilogy. So this is actually 3 books. So this is also something I don't normally do. I don't like reading books about the same characters, so I'll be very interested to see how I get on with this first book and if I will want to continue with the series. It is a fairly decent length at 436 pages, and the blurb says, "I've never been afraid of the dark, but that doesn't mean I wanted to live in it. And maybe everyone wants what they can't have, but I should have thought it over before I accepted the key and unlocked the door to their forbidden world. Number 1 is mostly silent. He watches me with them very carefully. His gaze never wanders. His interest never wanes. Number 2 is mostly gentle, but it's the other side of him I like best, the wild side. Number 3 is mostly reserved. He refuses to cross the line, even when I beg. It was carnal, it was sensual, and it was erotic. That's it. That's all it was supposed to be. A trip into the dark, a peek into the forbidden. I just didn't expect to like them." So this actually looks like a polyamorous relationship. So it'll be interesting to see where this one goes, what it's all about, and I'll obviously try and get to that one in the month of April and let you know how I got on. So then the next one, I've got this smaller TBR jar, which is where I've put some of the top recommendations from some of my favourite booktubers from 2023. So I have picked this blue star here. It's very exciting. Oh, so interesting, we have got a historical romance here. It's When the Earl Met His Match by Stacy Reid, and this has been recommended by Jenn from the book Refuge. This is one of her top 10 books of 2023. So this particular one is book 4 of the Wedded by Scandal series, and the blurb says, "When Hugh Winthrop, the future Earl of Albury, decides to advertise for a wife in the London paper, he never expected an anonymous response from a woman who matches him wit for wit. Their back and forth letters on the true nature of love, something they disagree on wholeheartedly, leave him shocked and intrigued. But then the woman he's been corresponding with shows up on his doorstep, enticingly beautiful and offering a marriage of convenience in exchange for his protection. Lady Phoebe Maitland expected to marry for love and nothing else until the man she gave her trust betrayed her. The more intrigued she becomes by the mysterious and devastatingly handsome Hugh, however, the more she realises he's holding back from opening his heart due to long-held secrets she struggles to understand. As passion flares wickedly between them, their marriage bed is quick to heat up. But when Phoebe's past threatens to destroy the fragile bond they've formed, even a budding belief in love might not be enough to save them. So I am very intrigued to read that. It's been a while since I've read an historical, and so I really want to give this one a try. So then next up I have 2 sets of prompt cards. So the first one is this set that I have here, and I'm just going to give it a shuffle. I'm not very good at shuffling in front of the camera. You'll just have to trust me that I'm definitely giving these a good shuffle up, and I'm going to spread these out and then pick this card here, which says choose a book where the blurb starts with the word it. Now that might take me some time, so let me press pause on the record and I'll be back with you shortly. Actually, that didn't take me as long as I thought it was going to, because I turned to my bookshelves first, because there's a couple of books that I had on my bookshelf that I haven't actually read yet. I got to this one, which is My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. This was a book that was actually gifted to me as a gift from my niece, and I haven't got around to this one yet, and the blurb actually does start with an it, so I'll try and hold it up there. I don't know if you can see. But basically it says, it was supposed to be a relaxing vacation in sweet sunny Cape Cod, just me and my beloved brother, but discovering a corpse in our rental house really throws a wrench into our tanning schedule. Now a rude, crude bounty hunter has arrived on the back of his motorcycle to catch the killer and refuses to believe I can be helpful, despite countless hours of true crime podcast listening, not to mention a fulfilling teaching career of wrangling second graders. A brash bounty hunter and an energetic elementary school teacher, the murder-solving team no one asked for, but thanks to these pesky attempts on my life, we're stuck together, come hell or high tide. I'm just here to do a job, not babysit an amateur sleuth, although it is becoming less and less of a hardship to have her around. Sure, she's stubborn, distracting, and can't stay out of harm's way. She's also brave and beautiful and reminds me of the home I left behind 3 years ago. In other words, the insatiable hunger and protectiveness she is waking up in me is a threat of my peace of mind. Before I sink any deeper into this dangerous attraction, I need to solve this murder and get back on the road. But will fate take her from me before I realise the road has been leading to her all along? So that one will be going on my TBR for April as well. I'm really loving this actually. It's a really diverse mix of books so far. And then finally this set of cards here, where I'm just going to give them a quick shuffle as well. And I'm just going to randomly pick one. Let's pick this one here. And it says, read a book you can read in a day. Well, that is quite loose-ended, isn't it? Because if it's a novella, I can easily get through one of those in an evening. And if it's the weekend, I can easily get through a whole book in one sitting if I don't have anything else that I need to do. So let's have a quick look through my TBR and see if there's anything that I am really interested in reading that is fairly short-ish in length. Okay, so I think I'm going to go for Haven by Astra Rose, and it's a reverse harem novel, but it's only 200 pages, so that is something that I can definitely get through in one sitting, either of an evening or at the weekend. So this one is sort of an erotic romance, I think, and the blurb says, on the run, fleeing a violent boyfriend, Hannah has nowhere to go and no one to turn to. When her car breaks down in the tiny town of Haven, Hannah is forced to rely on the kindness of strangers. 3 tall, strong and very sexy strangers. Love has always hurt in Hannah's world, but when things heat up with lovable Luke, moody Mika and stern Sean, Hannah can't deny that what she feels is much more than skin deep. And then it says, his family comes first. Sean, a career criminal, has been trying to build an honest life for himself and his boys for decades. They're right on the cusp of retirement when a young woman out of options lands on their doorstep with trouble in hot pursuit. He shouldn't want her, he's the dad, but just like his sons, he can't resist her, and soon all 3 of them will learn they'll do anything to keep her. So it says, Haven is a sizzling standalone reverse harem story with slightly taboo themes and HEA. So in addition to those that I pulled out of my jar or selected from my prompt cards, I've got some additional books that I am hoping to get to in the month of April, because I'm either getting an art copy of them or it's going to be a new release. So in no particular order, one of the new releases that I want to read when it comes out is Wild Love by Elsie Silver, due out on the 9th of April. Now this is book 1 in her new series, the Rose Hill series. Now I actually never finished the Chestnut Springs series, so I still need to read the final book in that series, but I do want to try and keep up with her books if I can, so I thought I would dive into this one when it comes out. It looks like it's a fairly long book at 464 pages. And it's a small town romance that obviously she has become famous for. The blurb on this one says, she's been driving him wild for years, the good kind of wild, the kind of wild that comes with wanting your best friend's little sister and knowing you can't have her. Forbes may have labelled Ford Grant the world's hottest billionaire, but all he cares about is escaping the press and opening a recording studio in gorgeous small town Rose Hill. Something that comes to a screeching halt when he ends up face to face with a young girl who claims he's her biological father. Now he spends his days balancing business with parenting a sullen 12-year-old, all while trying desperately to keep his hands the hell off his best friend's sister, Rosie Belmont. After living in the city, Rosie came blasting back into town like a storm, beautiful, messy and chaotic, and one wild-eyed, desperate plea for a job is all it takes for Ford to hire her. He vows to keep her at arm's length, tries to stick to scowls and grumpy one-liners, but with her, verbal sparring is a type of foreplay, friction that soon turns to blistering heat. Ford knows damn well he shouldn't cross this line, but shouldn't and can't are two very different things. And the only thing he truly can't do is resist her. The next one then is Scorn of the Betrothed by Zoe Blake, and this one is due out on the 19th of April, and it's book 5 in the Cavalieri Billionaire Legacy series. I've been reading these books and really enjoying them. The first 3 books in particular I really enjoyed. The blurb on this one says, a union forged in vengeance, bound by hate, and beneath it all, a twisted game of power. The true legacy of the Cavalieri family, my birthright, ties me to a woman I despise, the daughter of the mafia boss who nearly ended my family, making her both my enemy and my future wife. The hatred is mutual. She has no desire for me to be her groom. A prisoner to her family's ambitions, she's desperate for a way out. My duty is to guard her, to ensure she doesn't escape her gilded cage. But every moment spent with her, every spark of anger, adds fuel to the growing fire of desire between us. We're trapped in a volatile duel of passion and fury. Yet, the more I try to tame her, the more she fights me. Our impending marriage becomes a dangerous game. Now, as the wedding draws closer, my suspicions grow. My bride is not who she claims. So it looks like this might be the last book in this series, and so hopefully we get all of the answers to the questions we've already got from the rest of the series. So the next book that I'm putting on my TBR is Nita's Bounty by Deysi O'Donnell, and this is part of the Earth Bounty series that she's been writing. I'm expecting an arc of this one in the first week of April, so I'll hope to get that and also read it before obviously it goes live on the 18th, so I can get my review up. Usually Deysi O'Donnell's books are pretty short, either novella length or just around the 200-page mark, so hopefully this one will be a quick read. And essentially this is kind of an alien sort of romance, and it's been based on a series of women who have been abducted from Earth and kind of attempted by these bad aliens to be sold into kind of sex slavery, but then there is a group of rescuers, if you like, that go around rescuing these women that have been abducted, and in rescuing these women they obviously start to pair up and find their mates. So for this one, the blurb says, being abducted by aliens and sold to an interstellar brothel isn't supposed to be the best day of your life. Compared to the trauma I left behind on Earth, it's definitely an improvement. When the opportunity to escape from the pleasure station looks presented itself, I chose to stay behind. That was a decade ago and I still don't regret my decision. I'm happy being Madame Althea's star attraction. I've made friends with the other girls, the alien sex is great, and I finally feel safe. A single night with a handsome customer changes everything. When Chauveau pays triple my price for a night, I can't say no, mostly because Madame Althea would never turn down those kinds of credits. I'm not sure what to expect, but it's not the quiet, kind, and slightly obsessive male who bursts into my room and my heart. After a lifetime of verbal abuse from one man, imagine my surprise when fate sends me another who cannot speak. Unexpectedly, I find myself yearning for things I told myself I never wanted or needed. His gentle touch and warm embrace has me rethinking my decisions to stay. This time, when another opportunity to escape presents itself, can I do it? Can I trust this quiet male after everything I've been through? I thought I'd fortified my heart against ever loving again, but maybe there is one last chance in me after all. Then I really want to read King of Bones by Juliette Cross, and this is going to be part of the Lovely Dark anthology, which comes out on the 23rd of April. So there's 3 books in this particular anthology, but it's Juliette Cross's book that I'm particularly interested in. It looks like the whole book is only about 500 pages, so probably each of these stories will be about 150 to sort of 180 pages each. For the blurb, it just says, when Murga's degenerate father bets their last bit of coin and her in a high stakes game of kings and bones, she fears she will become the property of the lecherous ambassador. But when the most fearsome dark fae she has ever seen steps into the game and wins the pot, she knows her fate is much worse. She is now owned by the enemy. Then the next one is Not a Trace, part 2 by Liliana Carlisle. I actually read Not a Trace part 1 this month as part of my TBR because I was preparing to read it right at the start of April, because it was actually originally due to come out on the 30th of March. However, Liliana Carlisle has pushed the release date back to the 27th of April, so I'm really hoping it comes out on that date because I've just finished part 1, like I said. It's ended on a cliffhanger and I really want to see how this one concludes. Now this one is an Omegaverse reverse harem story, and essentially in the first book the main character's best friend goes missing and she enlists the help of some private investigators to try and find out what happened to her friend. Like I say, book 1 ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. They still haven't found her friend, and then the blurb for book 2 said, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, my best friend is missing, now so am I. Being held captive as an unmated Omega is just another event to add to my list of problems, but this time there are no cookies, cakes or macaroons to distract me from the trauma. I can only hope that Landon, River and Vincent are on the case, saving as many kidnapped Omegas as they can, but would they even bother to help me after I rejected them? What would 3 alphas want with an insecure Omega? If they find me, I feel I'll be broken beyond repair. I can only hope that they'll be willing to mend my heart back together. Okay, and so then the last book that is going to be on my list for April, again, I'm hoping to get an arc of this one. I should get the arc around the 9th of April, and the book itself comes out on the 23rd of April, and this is Cage of Ice and Echoes by Pam Godwin. So I've literally just read part 1. It's part of this is book 2 of a trilogy, and I also did a dedicated reading vlog to book 1 as well. Obviously Pam does very dark romances. This has been very dark, but I'm really intrigued to read the second part and keep going with this series. So the blurb for this one says, Frankie's story continues in the second book in the Frozen Fate trilogy by Pam Godwin. Frankie and her ruthless protectors conquered unspeakable evil, but their fight to escape the hills of shivers and shadows is far from over. Stranded in Alaska, survival becomes paramount against starvation, hypothermia and the dangerous predators lurking outside their isolated cabin. Sharing precious body heat with her viciously possessive men presents another challenge. She must navigate not only the brutal Arctic tundra, but also the intricacies of polyamorous love to ensure they make it out alive. Tensions rise as the ice thickens and their only hope rests on a plane they can't fly, unless they unlock the secrets hidden beneath its wings in a cage of ice and echoes. I don't know why, but every time I read the blurbs for Pam Godwin stories, I kind of get the shivers. So like I say, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. The cover reveal hasn't happened yet. I think that's going to be out in another week or 2. But really looking forward to getting my hands on that. So there we go. That is all the books that I am going to put on my TBR for April. Hopefully I'll get through all of those. It's slightly more than normal at 10 on there, but a couple of those books are actually quite short reads, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to blast through a couple of them. And obviously the Pam Godwin one is likely to be slightly longer, and I probably will do another reading vlog for that one as well. So if you're interested in that one, look out for that video. Right, so that's it for another month. I'm going to have to wait another 4 weeks before I can do this all again, but thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content from me, and if you want to recommend a book for me to read so that I can create a star and pop it into the jar for a chance to pull it out next time, please complete the book recommendation form, which is in the description box down below, or pop your recommendations into the comments box. I'd love to hear from you. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. But when the most fearsome dark face she has ever But when the first, which is book, no, let's just start again. Right, so in no particular order, one of the, not one of the first, if it's in no particular order, it can't be one of the first. Right, so stop saying that. Okay. Oh, it's got little bits of hair on my face. Not in a good way, you know? Right. A trip into the dark, a peek into the fit a bit. And maybe everyone wants what they can't have, but I should have